Welcome back. So, joining me now to talk more about the Kay Yow Cancer Fund is Jenny Palmateer. She's not only the CEO of the organization, but she had the honor of coaching alongside Coach Yow for 10 years and playing for her in her college basketball days. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm so happy to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity.
I am so happy for you to be here. And I want to give a little background that I have been learning about the Cancer Fund since I got involved. So, Coach Yao died in 2009, and I didn't know this, but she had a 22-year battle, right? Off and on with
Yeah.
breast cancer, which is unbelievable considering how successful she was. She was one of the most successful women's basketball coaches in history with more than 700 wins during her 38-year career. So she's really more than just a sports icon. She is somebody that was a helper. She's somebody that left this lasting legacy of the Cancer Fund, which again, I didn't know until I learned more about you guys that she formed this before she died because she wanted to help other women. And now it's been around for 16 years. You guys have raised $8.78 million, which is so amazing. And Jenny, I want to start with your personal connection to Coach Yao because you have multiple connections before you got involved as the CEO. So talk a little bit about your personal relationship and history with her.
Oh my gosh, Amanda, that could take a really long time. But I'm so proud, really. My relationship with Coach Al goes back decades. It went back decades from when she was sitting in my living room in a small town in New Jersey, recruiting during the recruiting process for me to come to NC State and play for her. And that was fresh off her 1987 Olympic 88 Olympic gold medal. And long story short, I wound up having the opportunity to go play for her at NC State, which I did for 4 years. And then I had the really awesome opportunity to come back to NC State to coach alongside her for 10 years. And that was the last 10 years of her coaching career and of her life. And so for me, to run the gambit a little bit, she started off as my coach, and then she turned into a great mentor of mine in the coaching world. And then of course the result of that all together, and because of who she was, just an unbelievable friend. And so to have the opportunity to experience Coach Al in three different lights, from three different perspectives, and of course they all make more sense, right, as you leave one and enter the other one. And as a 17, 18 year old kid, I'll say, playing for Coach Al, you don't always understand the decisions, you don't always understand the methods, right? And then you mature and you grow, and then you're like, that's what that was, right? And all of a sudden it makes sense. And she just had such an impact in my life, on and off the court. And I would argue more so off the court, believe it or not, because she just used sport to teach life lessons. And I think any former player, any former colleague of hers would say that. And you kind of touched on this a few minutes ago, Amanda. She was a champion on the basketball court and in the women's basketball world, but she was a champion of the community. And she was, because it's who she was. She was a servant leader in everything that she did. And so as impactful as her coaching legacy was, I would venture to say probably her biggest impact and lasting legacy is actually the Kay Yow Cancer Fund and the work that we're able to do.
Yeah, and it makes me think about the fact, I mean, you were a teenager when you met her. So incredible that you had all these years with her and like you said in these different seasons of your life, right? And different
Exactly.
seasons of her life. And I also think the empowerment that she gives women
Unbelievable.
today, even though she passed in 2009, because let's face it, women haven't always had the same opportunities in leadership. And to be a leader in sports and then, as you said, off the court, really probably gave so many young women a lot of confidence because a lot of people play college sports and don't go on to be professional athletes, but they do go on to be leaders if they've had great mentorship. And so that's pretty incredible.
It's amazing. I mean, and not to interrupt you there, but
No.
what it made me think of is all the former players that Coach Al, had the opportunity to coach. And I can promise you, you could bring each and every one of them in here and ask them, what is a life lesson that you learned from Coach Yow? And every single one of them would have something that they literally think about and use in their life 30 years after playing for her. And I
Were
think that's the
were you
magic.
intimidated by her at first, and then did it get better as you became obviously, you worked alongside her, but it had to be a little scary at first, right? She's
So
probably
amazing. So it really wasn't for me, and I don't know if that was just blind, naivety as a youth, like, I like, real and but I think it speaks to who she was as well, because she never had that air about her. I mean, she was a pioneer in the sport of women's basketball, fresh off an Olympic gold medal. I mean, all these wins, ACC championships, and she's sitting in my living room as a 17-year-old as such a normal person. And I think on the front end coming in, like, your mind goes crazy and you think about that. But it didn't take but about 2 minutes to know, wow, this is a really amazing person. She is just a person, and she's very genuine and she's very sincere, and she knows, what she wants and what we're doing and can articulate that. And I want to play for this lady, I mean, and so ironically, I look back at that sometimes and I'm like, should I have been a
should
little?
you have been more intimidated? But you know what? That probably served you well in that
I think it
circumstance.
did. I think I did, and I do think it was such a gift that she had to be able to make people feel comfortable, to meet people wherever they were, whether they were strangers, whether they were her players, whether they were, to really be able to meet us in a place where we didn't have to feel that, which was an amazing thing. And I do think that's why, when you think about the community and the lasting impact she had on people, that's such a big piece of it.
Absolutely. And, I mentioned at the beginning the thing that I wasn't aware of was that throughout the high points in her career, she was dealing with breast cancer. What was that like working with her during that time? Did she talk about it? Was it difficult? Was it challenging? What was that like?
Yes, to all of that. Very difficult, very challenging, I would say, for her, for sure. I mean, and I'll jump to the part, down the stretch, the last few years of her life when her cancer had metastasized, and, that was a real battle. She had to take a little bit of a leave of absence at one point and then came back. But what I will tell you is, anybody that was there in any capacity with her during that time, we are forever changed. And it's because, it's easy, Amanda, for people to kind of talk the talk and know the right things to say, and they can say it. So we got to watch her walk the talk. Things that she preached to us, right? As players, as coaches, the current team, right? Things about your attitude, and how you take things in. It's not one of her favorite quotes she used to say all the time, right? When life kicks you, let it kick you forward. Right? That was one of them. Another one, and I don't always get this 100% correct, but it was to the effect of, you know what? It's okay to feel sorry for yourself sometimes. It's okay. Like, that's gonna happen, you know, but you can't drown in self-pity. You got to swish your feet and get out. Right? Things like that, and, you can't control what happens. We can't control what happens to us in life, but we have 100% control on how we will respond. And so for us to be able to be firsthand witnesses of that, and for me personally, to know what it took for her to come to a practice, right? I saw the behind the scenes. I knew the challenges and the struggles that she had, and then to see her walk through the gym door, and for that 2 hours be in a place where if you didn't know she had cancer, you probably wouldn't. And that was not because she just forgot about it. It was a conscious choice, and that was her gift to the team at that point, right? She was gonna do whatever she could during that time. And so I think for us to be witness to that, and of course, Amanda, her faith was at the core of everything that she did, and that was evident. And so just her attitude, and to be when you have the chance to watch somebody do that, it changes you, right?
Absolutely. I had a guest on recently who also went through cancer, and she talked about, some days you're not thriving, you're just surviving, and that's
Yes,
okay. And
exactly.
it sounds like she really persevered through all that and gave you guys, so much, like you said, to look up to in the
I'll
way
give
she
you an
handled it.
example. I have to give you this example. So this was down the final stretches of her life, and so she was not doing real well, and we had a big game against UNC coming up, and that was her favorite game of the season. Big rival, right? I mean, she thrived for those kinds of games, and but no, unbeknownst to her, we were also going to be naming Reynolds Coliseum the floor after her at this game. It was senior night, it was UNC, and we're in practice the day before, and she was having a tough time of it. And, long story short, she wound up having to go sit down and was in really bad shape. We had to call the ambulance, and the team is practicing during all of this. And the most remarkable thing that to witness was, you know, a team could respond a couple different ways on that. One, of course, we're all so concerned. We loved Coach Al, right? And we're so, scared. You could be scared. But how that manifested itself in the team was they got louder. They started doing more, and it elevated everybody. It elevated everybody, and I think that was their way of telling her, "It's okay," right?
We
And
got
so
this.
we
Yeah.
got this. We've got your back, right? Like, we're okay. You're gonna be okay. And she wound up going to the hospital and having to spend the night. The game was the next day, and believe it or not, she made it to the game.
Oh,
Yeah.
she wouldn't miss it,
Oh
right?
my gosh, we had to have gloves on and all this stuff, and it was a night that no NC State fan will ever forget. We won the game. It was senior night. All the seniors scored double digits. We named the court after Coach Al. It was like this culmination of just pure joy and goodness all around.
All these good things coming together.
Yes, out of
Um,
something like cancer.
Tell me about how she decided before she died to create this fund. I mean, how did that come about?
So, she was a servant leader at heart, Amanda, and so every she lived her life serving others, even without her cancer being at the forefront and all of that. She was always looking to serve others and give. And so I think when she got cancer, nobody wants to have cancer, and she was very open. Of course, I mean, I don't want cancer. Of course, who would ever want cancer? She said, but what I do want is to know that if I have to go through this, that there's a reason and a purpose, and something good comes out of it. And that's how the conversations got started. She wanted to do something, and she really believed in sports as a catalyst for change and for good. And she had been doing that her whole life, as a coach, and the teaching and all the awesome lessons, life lessons that come from sport and our ability to impact. And so while she never wanted the spotlight, literally never, she was so willing to use her spotlight if she thought it could help others. And her goal was to provide from this at the start to provide hope, strength, and courage to cancer warriors and thrivers and caregivers and people that were battling. And so she thought, well, pick a game on our schedule. We'll call it Play for Kay. We'll honor survivors during that game. They will leave there feeling supported and full of hope and strength. And that's how it got started.
Yeah. So talk to me about, first of all, let's talk about how you raise the money, and then we'll talk about what you do with it. Talk about Play for K, because that's something now that's kind of caught fire across the country. It's not just here. Lots of teams are doing it. So explain that, and then talk about other ways you guys raise money for the fund.
Sure, absolutely. So Play for K is how it all got started. And Coach Al had a vision of uniting the women's basketball community in the fight against cancer. And that's coaches, players, officials, fans, right? By picking a game on the schedule. Before a dollar was raised, it was to provide hope, strength, and courage using sport and our platforms to do that. Fast forward the creation of the Kay Yow Cancer Fund, and now Play for K is our largest fundraising initiative. Teams across the country, literally in all 50 states, a national grassroots movement in sports, Play for Kay throughout the year. Primarily women's basketball, but that's spreading and growing. And so we've had men's and women's teams participate and Play for Kay. We've had basketball, we've had football, we've had softball and baseball and lacrosse, and the list could go on. And it's all ages. It's high schools, Division 1 schools, Division 2, Division 3, 2-year schools, NAIA schools. And so really there's no boundary on who can Play for Kay and what that looks like. And it continues to be our largest fundraising initiative and our national grassroots movement across the country. And
And so
February,
people who come, they give a donation when
yes,
they come to spectate at these games. Okay.
yes. So the teams fundraise for the Kay Yow Cancer Fund. And the beauty of that is there's no, we give parameters, we supply everything these schools and coaches need to activate and to engage their communities. But the really cool thing about it, Amanda, is that each school fundraises in a way that's genuine to them and the people that they're serving. And so it's a really cool thing. And
Yeah.
together you can think about each one of those schools independently. It would be awesome what they're doing in the fight against cancer, but to be able to wrap our arms around a national grassroots movement and now pull that support and that funding, the impact that we're able to have is so much greater.
Absolutely. And I know you've got a really big fundraiser coming up. This is a run walk in
Yes.
Cary. You've done this how many years?
Oh my gosh, you would ask me that. I believe it's been 6 now.
Okay. And I am so humbled to be the MC and the honorary chair this year. This is my first time being at the event as well. And I have a team that's going to be participating. Talk to us about that event. Why is this event so important?
Well, first of all, we are ecstatic to have you as the chair of the run, and we were so humbled and thankful that you accepted that invitation.
Well,
But
thank you.
our celebration run walk is one of our signature events, and we host it every February. It is truly it's a 4K instead of a 5K, and it is unlike any 5K you've ever been a part of. I promise you that. It is designed to be a true celebration of survivors and their loved ones and their caregivers. It's very festive, and it has grown tremendously over the years. Last year, we had close to 1,000 participants. And so our goal is always to continue to grow that and to continue to celebrate and highlight the survivors that are at that event. And so some people will walk. We have a mini version. There are literally women there that are currently battling. There are some that are on the back end of that and have survived it. There are thrivers, and it just has a different feel. And so I'm so excited for you to experience it for the
Hmm.
first time, because I feel like I can't do it justice by describing it. It's a feeling you will have if you come, when you come.
Yeah, and I came to this partially because of my experience with cancer, because I was a caregiver to my mother who had brain cancer and
Mhm.
passed away in 2012. And one of the things that I was so impressed by with your organization is that you support women going through all types of cancer. So you don't just focus on one type of cancer. And I think that's really unique in the cancer community.
It is, Amanda. It's definitely one of the things that I feel like sets us apart, and that was important for Coach Yow. I will say, for a lot of people out there, they think we focus on breast cancer alone because Coach Yow had breast cancer, and because some of our brand color is that pink, and certainly that is a major part of what we do. But Coach Yow really wanted to be all inclusive, and so our efforts are in the search of providing support and for all cancers affecting women. And we give grants to support that. We award grants. And if you look at the grants that we've awarded, it's reflective of that. And so we've given, breast cancer, cervical, ovarian, brain cancer, lung cancer, and all these different ways that we're supporting all cancers affecting women.
Yeah, so let's talk about where the money goes. So I know it's really two-prong, right? You give grants for research and
Mhm.
then also helping some underserved communities. So explain both of those two paths.
Absolutely. The research path, I think, is most people can grasp that, right? I mean, I think they know that we have to have research. Any woman that has ever battled cancer knows how important it is to continue to fund research. And I think that's been a part of our mission since day one, because Coach Yow's life was extended because of research. And certainly her quality of life while she was battling was enhanced during that time because of research. And so that's a prong of our mission. The second is Coach Yow wanted to serve the underserved. And what that looks like is we want to make sure that every woman has access to care that is out there. And so through our funding, we're aiming to break down barriers to care for underserved women, under-resourced women. And so what that could look like are women that, maybe they don't have insurance, right? Maybe they don't have transportation. Maybe they have this just huge fear and distrust of the medical system. And so how our second prong manifests itself, an easy example to grasp would be we might fund a mobile MAM unit that will go then into a community where women that otherwise would not have the opportunity to get screened can actually get screened.
And one of the examples you gave to me that I thought was really strong as well was sometimes people from rural communities have to travel a long way to
Yes,
get treatment in a more metropolitan area, and they might need transportation, help with
exactly.
transportation or help with lodging. So those are really important things. Um,
Absolutely.
when I was researching, I was looking through all of her quotes, and like you said, there's so many good ones talking about, a leader is a person who serves. Confidence is born out of hard work. I want to bring this full circle. You mentioned at the beginning that everybody who interacted with her has a life lesson. So I want to know what your life lesson is. I'm sure there were many, but share one or two that you got from her that just continues to resonate with you.
Oh boy, you would ask me that, Amanda. There are so many, it's crazy. But I do think that two probably come to the forefront to me, and maybe in a little bit different way than um but I think for me, one thing that I observed and that I watched her do, and I think it was an unbelievable thing, and she gave all of us the gift of time. And, she could have easily been way too busy to do a lot of things. And, as a player, as a coach, as a friend, her door was always open, and she didn't wait for you to walk through it. Sometimes she walked through it to you. And so I think making time for people, and when
Mhm.
you're with them, right, to be present in that during that time is such a key thing, whether it's a minute, whether it's a half hour, whether it's an hour, to really take the time to respect people like that and to genuinely care about them in that way. I think it was one. And then I think the other thing, and I really got to see this when I was coaching with her, and it translates, right? Like to everything that we do and how we do it. But this idea, and in the coaching world, you'll be like, "Oh, yeah, for sure." Um, but she had this unique ability to meet people, right, to see people for who they could become and not necessarily who they were at that moment. And when for me in the coaching world, and I went on to coach for a really long time after Coach Yao, but that's such a big thing when you really break it down and you think about it, right? And like to be able to see people and always think the best of them and see them for who they can become and not necessarily who they are at that moment in any phase of their life. Right. And so I always find myself thinking about that, and in hearing her and remembering how she did that. And that's a scenario, Amanda, when I think about that, when I was a player, she was doing that. I was 17 years old, certainly not who I was hopefully going to be
Right.
at that moment.
You were being formed,
I
right?
Right, and you think about starting a new job, you think about starting a new family, you think about all these different ways that manifests itself in life. And the ability to do that and show kind of, grace to people and a positive outlook and see the best in them and want the best for them and be able to see that and then help direct and guide people to that, it was unbelievable.
I got a little bit teary when I started hearing you talk about the time thing because I think that is so powerful too. And I didn't know her, but I feel like I'm getting to know her through you
Yeah.
all. And so thank you for that, for
Oh,
giving me that gift because she obviously inspired you and so many others. And
oh
these are
my
just
gosh,
incredible lessons. So
huge.
let's talk. How can people sign up for this event in February? What do they need to know? Where can they go? And I will put, of course, the website and all of your social media links in the notes to this podcast. But just let people know what they need to know to do that.
Awesome. So I would say kyow.com. There will be a link. You can click on the Celebration Run Walk and you can register through that. And I would say register early, bring your friends. It's going to be held at Wake Med Cancer Park, alongside,
Soccer
I'm
Park.
sorry, soccer park.
Let's do that
Yes.
again. Where is it going to be held?
It is going to be held at Wake Med Soccer Park, and we are super excited about it. We had it there last year. It's a great venue, convenient parking. We have lots of things to do. If you can attend, one, I would encourage you, come on out. I mean, I can't think of a better 2 hours, for that day. Come on out, bring your family and friends, come early, celebrate with us, and have some great food and drinks, celebrate with us, and make it just an awesome celebration of your families and your friends.
Well, I cannot wait. I'm so excited about it. And I think it's going to be an awesome day. And I look forward to seeing so many survivors and people who are connected to this out there celebrating her life and their
Absolutely.
lives and the lives of their family and friends.
Absolutely. And I will say this, Coach Al would love this event. And she would be so proud to be able to be a part of it. And she would also, for us and the people at the fund, she would say, it's great, but it can be better. And so,
Okay.
right, like
You can
that's
learn from it.
great. Yes. And so we are constantly working to improve it and really just enhance it every year. And so I'm sure this year will be no different.
Jenny, thank you so much for sharing all of these great stories about her and sharing Coach Yow with us. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity, Amanda, sincerely. Anytime I have the chance to talk about Coach Al, I welcome it because she was an unbelievable woman.
Absolutely.